All right, let's talk about a book that didn't just define a genre, it completely blew it apart. Today, we're diving deep into Agatha Christie's darkest, most mind-bending thriller, And Then There Were None. Let's get into how she pulled off this masterpiece.
You know, the entire novel really boils down to one central, chilling question. How do you commit the perfect murder? And I'm not just talking about one. I'm talking about 10 of them, on a totally isolated island with no way out, and not another person in sight. Sounds pretty much impossible, right?
Well, Christie's answer is it's horrifyingly brilliant. You let your victims do the hard work for you. You don't just hunt them down, no. You use their own guilt, their own paranoia, and you turn them against each other until there's absolutely no one left to tell the story. So how does this all begin? Well, it all starts with one of the most incredible setups in literary history. This is the ultimate locked room mystery, except the room is an entire island. The trap is just set with this terrifying precision. You've got 10 complete strangers, all lured to this remote place called Soldier Island. The host, a mysterious Mr. Owen, who nobody's ever met. Then, shortly after they get there, a gramophone record starts playing, and it accuses every single guest of a past crime, a murder that the law could never touch. And just like that, a storm rolls in, cutting them off from the rest of the world. There's no escape. But here's the thing. The island isn't the real trap, the true horror. The engine that drives this entire story forward is a simple children's nursery rhyme. This rhyme, this poem, it's framed and hanging in every single guest's room. Now, on its own, you might just think, okay, creepy decoration, but it very quickly becomes a terrifying prophecy. It's a script for murder that everyone is forced to watch happen, step by step. And the horror just kicks into gear almost immediately. The first guest chokes to death, just like the first verse of the rhyme. Then another one oversleeps, dying in their bed. Verse by verse, the deaths start to perfectly line up with the poem. The guests have this horrifying realization. They aren't just being hunted, they are being executed according to a script. And if that wasn't enough to make your skin crawl, get this. There's a centerpiece on the dining room table with 10 little soldier figurines. After the first death, someone notices one of the figurines is gone. After the second death, another one disappears. It's this physical countdown, a constant, chilling visual reminder that their time is running out. So, what is it about this story? Why are we still talking about it more than 80 years later? Let's actually break down the mechanics that make this thing such a timeless masterpiece. It all really comes down to the genius of the design. First, the isolation of the island creates this relentless, claustrophobic tension. Driving it all is that ingenious nursery rhyme, which is basically a horrifying countdown clock. But here's the crucial part. There are no real innocents here. Every single character is morally gray, blurring the line between victim and villain. And all of this builds to a famously bleak ending that just shatters the rules of the genre. There's no hero detective, and there's definitely no neat, tidy resolution. Okay, we gotta pause here for a second. This is a big one. If you have not read the book and you want to experience its legendary twist for yourself, now is the time to hit pause. Seriously, we're about to reveal the killer's identity. So imagine you're the police. You finally make it to this island days later. What do you find? 10 bodies, 10 murders, and not a single living soul left. The impossible question is, who was the killer? Who was this mysterious Mr. Owen? The answer, well, it's so simple, and that's what makes it so brilliant. The killer had been on the island with them the entire time. Mr. Owen was one of the guests. So who was it? The mastermind was none other than Judge Lawrence Wargrave. His plan was incredible. He faked his own death about midway through the story, getting help from a doctor he tricked. This allowed him to move around freely, picking off the terrified survivors one by one. His motive? A twisted, obsessive desire for his own brand of justice against people the law couldn't punish. And the only reason we know any of this is because he wrote down a full confession, sealed it in a bottle, and tossed it into the ocean right before taking his own life, creating what he believed was the perfect, unsolvable crime. It's an absolutely incredible piece of plotting, right? But does that make it the perfect story for every single reader? Turns out, the very things that make this book a stone-cold classic are also the things that might turn some people off. You see, the book's greatest strengths can also be its biggest drawbacks, depending on what you're looking for. That ingenious, super tense plot, it's driven by a relentless pace that gives you almost no time to breathe. It raises these deep moral questions, sure, but it does it with characters who are, let's be honest, pretty undeveloped and not very likable. And that shocking twist ending, it contributes to this really dark, almost nihilistic feeling, leaving you with no comforting sense of justice at all.
So, when you take all of that into account, what's our final verdict? Is this the perfect mystery novel?
We're giving this one an incredible 4.5 out of 5. Look, it's a masterpiece of precision engineering and atmosphere. It leaves a mark on you that you won't forget, even if its sheer bleakness isn't going to be for everybody.
So, should you read it? Well, here's the breakdown. You are absolutely going to love this book if you're a fan of psychological suspense, if you love those intricate, closed-room puzzles, and if you enjoy digging into dark moral questions. But if you prefer a cozier mystery, if you kind of need a happy ending, or if you just don't like keeping track of a big cast of characters, you might want to start with a different Agatha Christie novel. And all of this leaves us with the big question that sits right at the heart of the novel, one that feels just as relevant today. The killer set out to punish guilty people who had escaped the legal system. But in doing that, are their actions really justice? Or is it just another, even more elaborate crime? It's a question with no easy answer, and that right there is exactly what makes this story so unforgettable.